Hello, my absolutely beautiful and brilliant astrology soulmates, and welcome to this video where we are going to talk about what's happening on March 30th, and that is that Neptune is going to be moving into Aries, and not just moving into Aries, but lighting up 0 degrees of Aries, which is the Aries point, the cosmic spark, the place and the birthplace of action, where the soul incarnates into self and an idea becomes personhood, where we get to say, not only am I here, but I get to be here, damn it, and I'm ready. So this is a massive transit. You're going to be hearing all about it. You probably already have been. And for so many of you, this energy that you felt coming, but couldn't quite put the right action or the right name to it, it is time for it. And that is Neptune in Aries. Okay, so in this video, what you want to know, first of all, is that there's timestamps down below for everything I'm going to tell you about. And I know that I love breaking things down with you, and some of us are just so deep. We love all the deliciousness of the astrology. So we're going to go through the history, where we've been before, so that we can see how it's applying to the cycle now. Then we're going to come current and talk about the actual astrology, what are the dates and the times, and then we're going to talk about what it looks like. But I've also got a new feature in these videos for you guys, and it is called The End at the Beginning, because sometimes we just need the juicy right now and we need to move on. So you'll be able to click in the description box down below and check out that section where I just tell you what's the heart of this video. Like, we just get to it, wrap it up, move on, right? And also in the beginning of this video, you're going to see that there's an opportunity to check out the blog and see where this is happening for you in your chart by house, okay? So lots of good information in that description box down below, to include, if you're ready to actually go a little bit deeper and learn astrology, you can join GAFA, where we've got beautiful astrology classes teaching you to learn to speak, read, and write the language of astrology, and I would love to have you in class. And for those of you who are about to really feel everything I'm going to talk about in this video, and for the rest of the year, how powerfully Venus is going to play into the story. If you are ready to settle, if you're ready to soften, if you're ready to reduce that stress in your life, come back to ease and pleasure and play and creativity, your intuition is going to be pushing on you, and already has been. I would love to see you jump into the Venus Reset program. Take it on. 22 beautiful days of us walking together, bringing you back to Venus, bringing you back to soft, some playfulness, some creativity, healing, cleaning out that pelvic bowl so you can attract to you what it is that you want. All of the goods, besides me talking in this video, are in the description box down below. So let's jump in and let's talk about getting you the end at the beginning, because if you got stuff to do, I totally understand it, and then we'll start to break everything down. All right, brilliant friends, here is the end of this video right here at the beginning, the heart of the message. March 30th, we see Neptune move into the Aries energy. It's going to be here for 14 years. It's bringing up spiritual vision. It becomes the embodiment of not just visioning it, but bringing it into action. This is no longer the dreaming, waiting, healing. It's the moving forward and defining what you have. This transit is going to ask you, especially in 25, 26, what truth is living so spiritually and intuitively deeply in you that you are willing to rise and fight for that, even if you don't see the entire road today? Are you willing to do it? So something you're going to find yourself thinking about and being faced with is, what have you been saying that your intuition is bringing up in you, but you haven't necessarily taken action on it yet? That's going to be one place we're going to definitely see this Neptune energy calling. And what do I mean by that? Have you been saying, I'm an astrologer, and you're not doing any astrology? That's not going to work. That vision doesn't work. Have you been getting this message of like, it's weird, but I feel like I just need to make content on massage, and I don't really know how I would do that. I know how to do the massage, but I don't know how to do the other part. This is going to be a transit where it's like, okay, if you're willing to stand up and have courage and fight for that and move that forward, then the intuition is speaking through you. Whatever comes up for you, you're going to be asked, what is the truth and you'll know because it'll be the thing you're taking action on and you're willing to fight for. And the other things, the Neptune Aries energy is going to dissolve that old belief. So if you keep saying I'm a this, but I'm not actually doing that, that's going to get wiped out because you'll see the truth that you're not really that, you're really something else, and let's just do that. So this is going to be a call for some radical spiritual courage for you at this time. It is not going to be a passive transit. It's just not. So again, if you're curious how this shows up in your life personally, click down and go to my blog. I broke it down by house, and all you need is your natal chart. If you don't have one, grab one from me, and you look at what house is Aries in your chart, and then you can see what a little breakdown is that you're going to be working on for 14 years. The best astrology is always going to be your astrology. So if you want to go deeper, I would encourage you to look at all of the aspects that this particular transit is making to the things in your chart. And if you are not prepared to do that, come see me. Come see one of my colleagues. We spend all day running around here doing astrology. We are ready to help you with this particular skill and get you your best astrology. All right, my beautiful friends, that is the end at the beginning. For those of you who are ready for a little bit more, let's dive in. All right, beautiful friends. So let's talk first just about this Aries point, this 0 degrees of Aries, and why this is so important, because we need to sit here for a minute and realize not only that Neptune's coming in at this Aries point, but that we have been spending months with the Aries point, that 0 degrees of Aries, getting clicked on by multiple planets. To include, we just had our last eclipse just 9 degrees away from this. So it is so very, very activated. But in mundane astrology, which is the astrology of the world and events happening in the world, we have Dan Waits, who comes to our channel and gives us the mundane minute, right? So in mundane astrology, this degree, the Aries point, represents this intersection. It's the intersection between where there's the personal things that are happening for us and the collective things. But it is where world events, public consciousness, and all of the awakening, they essentially collide together, because this is the great beginning. This is where everything starts from. So as a planet crosses this point or comes to it, what we're going to see, especially with an outer planet, is we're going to see a launch of a major movement. You will see major movements all around the globe because this is such a fresh ignition spot. We will see global turning points. And remembering that, yet again, this is an outer planet. Neptune is an outer planet, so it's not just personal to us. It's going to also help us navigate what's going on in the globe. Everyone is under it. We're going to see the initiations of new identity plans. And we're going to start to see those plans come into action, right? Even as countries, they're going to be saying, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? What is going to be the new belief system? So all of that is coming in here. And this is where we're also going to see a new embodiment of a different kind of spirituality in the world, different spiritual societies and ideologies that come together. And you're going to love it when we start to break down the history to see that we've already been here before. So basically, the Aries point, and really understanding this, especially if you're newer to astrology, understanding why the Aries point is so significant is because it's the astrological equivalent of sunrise. Right? But it's not just like sunrise every day. It's the first sunrise, the start and the beginning of everything. So when we bring Neptune to this spot, our slow moving outer planet, very dreamy shaping ideals, now we're not going to just be dreaming that world. We're going to start being more Aries about those dreams, and we're going to start to build it. Now, we don't do it with any certainty. This is the thing we also have to remember, is that we're not going to be doing it with just all of this clarity and all of this certainty. It is certainly nothing that we build in the world, especially at this time, or even in our own little lives, is going to be perfect, but it will be divine. And there is going to be a bit of fire that comes behind it in order for us to get that done. Now let's take a minute and talk about what Neptune itself is before we actually jump into the history and then talk about how we can use it now. Okay, so let's talk about what actually is Neptune. Neptune is one of our outer planets, which means that it tells us that this is not just something personal happening for us, but Neptune is going to also rule over a collective conscious and unconsciousness as well. So there is no country, there is no place or no space that as this movement is happening under Neptune will not also be impacted. Neptune is our planet of transcendence. It is of dreams, mysticism, intuition, idealism, compassion, unconditional love, image, fantasy, disillusionment comes under here as well. But at the Neptune energy, we transcend this space of just the material plane in the material world, and we connect with something that is larger and bigger, like our higher selves, the world that moves in between worlds. And whether you call that spirit, imagination, fantasy, illusion, it doesn't matter what the word is. If you're using any one of those, you're bringing in the vocabulary of Neptune. But what Neptune really does for us is shows us at a deep spiritual level, what is it that we long for, right? I long for this. We as a collective long for this, but we get lost or delusioned along the way, or we're confused about what it is and exactly how to get it and bring it about. Now, as Neptune was traveling through Pisces, where it's at home, it's in domicile, so totally comfortable, what it was doing was dissolving boundaries. Right? It was very comfortable. It was dissolving those boundaries. We started to have these awakenings to spiritual principles, lots of things happening in the arts that were expressions of things that we wanted to see in the world brought into collective consciousness. But we also saw other things while Neptune was traveling through Pisces. We saw confusion. We saw mis and disinformation. We saw plenty of routes for escapism, right? But it was a very, very dreamy place where the world that we longed for, that our intuition calls for, was trying to make itself known. But it's like, how do we do that? How do we work with that? So now, as we see Neptune step forward and coming into Aries, it's a sign of action, identity, instinct, initiation, directness, right? Neptune coming into Aries comes as that fire starter. It's not coming as a whisper. It's coming on a no. And it asks the question, what does spiritual courage look like? What am I willing to act on that my spirit, my intuition, the unconscious made conscious has called to me? And I'm willing to act on this because of an inner knowing. I know, and I know that I know. And I'm willing to take some action to move that thing forward. You know, and this is where I asked you the question in the beginning. What is this bold vision that you have that you are willing to take action on in your personal life, even if you can't see the full pathway forward? But we extend this as well when we're looking at our world, no matter where you live in it, coming into collective conscious. Things are being rebuilt, identities are being reconstructed, reshaped, and it will be messy along the way because there's no exact clear path as to how to get that to happen. But what we will and can expect to see as Neptune comes into Aries is, first of all, lots of personal identity awakenings. And again, this is going to be for countries as well. Of course, the United States is massively, massively demonstrating its own awakening. We're going to see new leaders come to the surface, absolutely. And they are leaders that are soul-centered. They have vision, and they are going to get called up. Some of you are the next round of leaders that are coming up and coming out and coming to the surface. So I hope you have the bold courage to step out here and do that. We're going to see more things also, I think, that have to do with spiritual activism, or I like to call it, the digital mystic as well, right? Like, we're going to see so much more of that, a rise in spiritual entrepreneurship because these new leaders are being called out. Now, even at that collective awakening level, we're going to see that a real fight for compassion and unity will actually be what draws these next leaders, these next ideologies, these next spiritual plans to the surface. So as we're dancing and we think about where we've been, where we're going, because we're going to see a little bit more Pisces and a little bit more Aries dance this year before Neptune just fully goes into Aries and stays there, We have to remember that there's a huge energetic shift as we dance between these two, because Pisces swims in all of the possibilities that could be coming for us, while Aries takes that first step. Pisces dissolves something that is not needed anymore. Aries defines it. It says, I'm going after this. I'm going this direction. I'm very clear on it. Even if it's a mess, I am going to go towards this. Pisces prays, Aries fights. So as we're having this dance and you see yourself experiencing this and you see the shifting happening in the world around you, just remember that space that we're stepping into very quickly here is about we're taking the risk and the action to move it forward. We lead with visionary fire. That's exactly what this energy is about. So as we're watching this transit actually fold, what we're going to see in our dance is that we're going to see here on March 30th, we're going to see that Neptune pops forward into Aries, into that Aries point, and here's where we're going to start the journey for the first time. Now, when a planet, especially an outer planet, comes into a new sign, what is happening is it's coming around and saying, I need everything here to key to the vibration of Aries, right? I'm Neptune in Aries. I need everything to get on this key. And the things that cannot meet that vibration, whether it be people, places, and things, whenever a new planet comes into that sign, the things that do not fit the vibration will go. And that is people, places, and things. And unfortunately, /fortunately, one of the ways that we see this is we see mass situations of transit, right? Whether it be people dying or people massively falling out of a field or an industry, whatever it is, if it does not hum and sing to the tune of Aries, it is going to be removed. So we can start to watch and see what's happening around us and watch and see what's happening in your life. If it doesn't fit the tune of Aries, it will start to fall out. Now, July 3rd of 2025, we're going to see that Neptune is going to take its retrograde. It's going to start here at 1 degree and 36 minutes of Aries. So we're going to begin retrograding, slowing down, and just reviewing the 1 whole degree of progress we have made in months. Then when we get to October, we'll see that Neptune now slides that retrograde back into Pisces. So we're back into the, hold on, I need to culminate. I need to come back in here and remember that anything is possible. I need to work on concepts of grief, death, surrender, culmination. We're going to come back to it, right? Now, when we get to February 17th, Neptune is going to come direct again at this 29 degrees of Pisces, which is also really profound and really powerful because it's a reminder that we do know how to do the Pisces energy. We do know how to transmute, transcend, culminate, forgive, work in the realm of the spirit. And we're going to see this volume be very, 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 very loud. And you'll see as we're talking about the history. And then when we get to April 20th of 2026, this is when we're going to see that Neptune's going to come into Aries and it's going to stay, and we're going to do the journey all the way until 2039. So for almost a year, as we dance with this energy, we do move in this a bit of a liminal space. You know, we've really been doing that Aries Pisces liminal dance here in 2025. So with Neptune being in Pisces and then fully transitioning into Aries, I want you to think of this or accept this as an invitation to just be your cosmic bridge between what was an old dream and an old system and an old consciousness that did work for as long as it worked, and a new consciousness being born, but it's being born through action. You have to build the bridge if you're going to cross it. So now we know the dates of where we're going with this Neptune transit. Let's back up and see the history so that we can see that, like they say, history does not repeat itself, but it definitely does rhyme. And as far as human beings go, we're really good at just repeating our patterns, but the hope is that we learn from them and we're able to bring a little bit more wisdom. So let's see where our history has had us and what things are looking like now as it begins to shape up. Because the last time that Neptune was in Aries, the world was on fire. And from that fire was born a lot of liberation, innovation, some different ideas, and definitely different identities literally came to be. So we saw Neptune in Aries last time in 1861 going all the way till 1875. And the world was anything but quiet at the time. We were not on chill. anywhere on this planet, we were not on chill, right? But we did. Again, we saw new identities, we saw new leadership, we saw war, we saw grief, we saw belief systems need to get changed. They were redefined, not only personally, but collectively as well. So first things, let's start at the American Civil War. 1861, 1865, Neptune entered Aries just as the United States was splitting into the Civil War, right? So we know here a couple things. The battle that was fought, it was not just physical. It was moral. It was spiritual. It was karmic. They were all Neptunian things, right? The abolition of slavery, that system that had been rooted in deep exploitation and many other things, this became a defining pivot point where we were like, we don't maybe believe in that ideology anymore. And so we start to see that we see Neptune's fog showing up going, but how do we do this? How do we get there? What is it going to take for us to get there? We also saw Neptune's fog showing up in propaganda. That's added to the confusing vision of what do we have and how do we get there, right? But I think that when we think about the Civil War in terms of Neptune, we think about how deeply emotionally connected to freedom and autonomy this particular event was, and how Neptune was symbolic in this particular warfare time, right? And it was on fire. It was on fire. It was devastating. And out of the fire, on the other side, came a new identity for America, right? It started to get formed. There was no perfection. Again, like I was saying in the beginning, we're going to start. We don't know exactly what the road looks like, but we are going to start. And it was going to have to be Neptunian in fashion. There was going to be sacrifice, mass sacrifice that happened. There was going to have to be reconstruction and redefinition. So Neptune's influence, when we see it, in this particular event, it brings really deep moral questions. It brings spaces where we saw many martyrs and martyrdom become, that's a very Neptunian concept. It blurred the lines between, do I believe my country, do I believe my state, or do I believe faith and my intuition, right? And the ideal, very Neptunian, the ideal of freedom and what it really is and how we go about having it was all tested under fire. But the United States was not the only country birthing this new identity, because Neptune in Aries activates who are we as a people, this conception, this idea. And so during this time, we also saw the birth and new identities of other nations as well. Italy unified in 1861. Germany unified under Bismarck in 1871. Russia, serfdom was abolished. That was very messy, right? That was a long, painful reshaping of that society and that economy. And there's a lot of history in all of these events. I don't want to shortchange them at all, but it is simply to say that the things that were happening, the new ideas that were coming, they were not just political moves. They were spiritual. They were existential. They were, where do we belong? Who are we? What is it to be one nation? So in this, we can see that Neptune in Aries on that global scale was dissolving old identities, and it was birthing new identities and new collective norms and stories. Now, it's not just wars that were happening. There were plenty of things rising that were nice and quiet and invisible, because in the United States and in Europe, in a response to so much grief and the searching for questions, the rise of spiritualism was absolutely booming at the time. Seances, psychics, mediums, astrologers were hot. We were hot again, y'all, okay? And it really was. And it was in this response to, there was so much grief and people just wanted to have contact with the dead. They wanted to know that loved ones were okay. They needed a place to process grief. They needed a place to ask the bigger question of what is this all about? So we saw that this was a hot time for spiritualism. And as I've said in the beginning of the video, as Neptune is here in this Aries time, we can already see a climbing and a rising of the spiritual entrepreneur, of the digital mystic. It's really coming back up and coming around again because we're looking for answers. Now, we saw that Helena Blavatsky, I believe that's how you say her name, she began laying the groundwork for Theosophy, which was a big deal at the time because it was a spiritual philosophy that actually brought the East and that Eastern mysticism, reincarnation, and then ideas from Christianity together. Okay, so this was like big ticket item. People were looking for answers, and the veil between the worlds at that time seemed really thin to people. You know, desperation gets us to do things that we wouldn't ordinarily do, and we do it on our own willingness and our own power. So when I look at Neptune in Aries at that time, it's not just I want to believe in something. It's like I'm willing to take action to find out if that belief is really true and test my beliefs and my faith and my spiritualism under fire. So this was massive at that time, and this spilled over throughout history, this great response to what was awakening into art. We saw Claude Monet, we saw Impressionism begin at this particular time, which are some of the beautiful things that we see because Neptune in Aries moved art from realism to intuition to sensation to this direct experience. It's not just that I see the apple, so I'm going to paint it, but what does that apple actually feel like and mean to me? So we got to see that there's just so much more direct meaning that starts to show up. Now, we cannot forget that Aries is still Aries. Aries is the god of war. So there is tension that is absolutely laced in here as well. And we saw this on the technological front, right? We also saw that there were some innovations, and they were the kind that changed the face of war and warfare as we knew it in the world. The Gatling gun came along. How about ironclad warships? We also had the transcontinental railroad come about in the United States, and it was actually completed in 1869. And this changed the face of movement and of expansion. Now, it had its downfall, right? Because colonization comes with it. So it's this place where I think we have to also remember with every transit, the transit itself is neutral. It's how the energies and the people around it are applying it. Because these advances were advances. They took the world in a different direction, but they came with a cost. We had industrialized warfare. We had exploitation of labor, very Neptunian concepts. We had displacement of indigenous people. But we also had art. We had new ideas. We had new faith. We had new ways to believe. We created new ideas and consciousness of what it means to be a oneness. So this is why I think it's so important to explore the fact that every transit is neutral, but talk about both sides. Where have we been? Where have we seen it? And to remind ourselves as Neptune is coming to Aries again, that if we have all of these advances, and we forget to be human, and we forget to be not just human, but conscious humans, we're going to have technology, but we'll have technology without a soul, and that is going to lead to destruction. And we know it because we've already seen it. So as we're looking at what does history tell us, and we can take this stay conscious consideration into our space, what does it tell us about the cycle we're entering now? One, it tells us that we may see some really powerful battles globally over identity. And this is going to be a national identity, a gender identity, a culture identity, a spiritual belief identity. There are going to be major movements coming to the forefront, but they are about autonomy. They are about, I autonomously want to choose my being and I want to choose where I belong. It's going to be about liberation. We will see birth of new nations or redefining of the identity of different nations. We're going to see that that spiritual entrepreneurship comes through the world. I'm telling you, like, I'm really excited to see who rises to the surface, especially in the realm of being, you know, the digital mystics. Those are my, like, that's my new word right now, because some of them are going to be absolutely false. They are going to be absolutely false, right? And they will go down in fire for being absolutely false. But the others, and you may be a part of the handful or being called to it, you're going to be the next generation of soul-centered, soul-led, visionary fire leaders who are being called to the surface. Because while you thought it all means nothing, while you thought, I don't know, I lived through that and it was no big deal, what you're going to be asked to do is step up, take on the challenge to help us walk and to move forward. And it will demand sacrifice, right? It's Neptunian. Whatever we're doing, from countries to people, it's going to demand a sacrifice from us, which means that sometimes the sacrifice is just going to be, you got to stop talking about, you know, being something without actually doing the thing. If you say, I'm an astrologer, and you are doing no astrology, you are not an astrologer, right? If you say, I'm really good at this thing and I really know how to do this, but we're not doing it, it's going to ask us to sacrifice an old story and actually live the version of the story that we've been telling ourselves for a very long time. And it's going to be so cool, I think, to see what your innate hunger, a spiritual hunger, an intuitive knowing kind of hunger is going to add to the world as we move forward next. All right, let's talk about the next piece that I think makes this Neptune and Aries transit so potent. It's really because Neptune is not going to just be walking through Aries alone. When we get to May 24th of 2025, we're going to see Saturn, our planet of structure, responsibility, duty, creating containment, right? It's going to also enter into Aries. And just a few weeks later, as we get to the end of July, July 31st, we'll see both Saturn and Neptune together. And it's a really powerful conjunction. It's rare. We only see it about every 36 years. But I think what makes it more important than just them coming together is that they are coming together in Aries. Again, it's that place of beginnings. It's that place of initiation and beginning. And when two outer planets come together and they conjoin, it is yet again a signature and a symbol that the world is going to change. It's a generational set of resets that's coming up. So it's going to reset events for the globe. It's going to restructure Saturn, a collective consciousness, Neptune. Because if you think about it, Neptune and Saturn really are opposites. They're opposites, right? Neptune's like, I just want to dissolve. Let's just dissolve that. It's a bunch of hand waving. We don't need any real assurance around here. And Saturn is like, no, we're going to put a container around this and we are going to define this. Neptune's like, let's just dream about it. And Saturn's like, why don't you build it? Build it. We got to build it. You know, Neptune trusts that it's all going to work out. It's all happening in the unseen. It's already yours. You know, it's in the vibration. And Saturn is like, I demand proof of existence and practice. Okay. So as we see them come together in Aries, this sign of the self-initiation, that identity, the birth, I think that the question we're posed with is, what do you believe in so deeply that you're willing to bring it in the world? You are willing to build it into the world. That is your visionary fire, because together, where Saturn can work wonders around this Neptunian energy, is that it takes this visionary energy and it crystallizes it into reality. It's a spiritual idealism that comes with a grounding tone. And for that, and from that, we have a slow, disciplined, long enduring energy that will set the tune for the next generations. So as they meet up here in Aries, here's what I believe we can expect to see. One, when they get together here in July, I believe that we're going to be able to see those false identities that I was telling you about, those people who are not it. We're going to see them start to crumble. And this will be globally. It's not just going to be in the United States, because Neptune's going to clear the illusion and Saturn's going to name the truth. Saturn's going to say, okay, if you're the real deal, prove in public that you can do fill in the blank thing, that you are fill in the blank thing, right? So this goes for us in our personal lives as well. If I'm saying I'm one thing, but I can't actually hold up and prove that thing, I'm going to be taken to task with that a little bit. But we'll also see it in terms of gurus and things like that, right? And I really think that it's going to be the best for us, because getting some sobriety around who spiritual leaders or leadership is or has been, moving the fantasy out of the way and needing to actually get down to brass tacks with people and their skills, their training, their traits, their all of these things, I think it's going to be something really good for us. Now, there is a sense too, for me anyways, I couldn't think of another way exactly to say this, but it's like sacred responsibility. I need to take sacred responsibility for something, right? I'm not waiting. I'm not dreaming. I don't have an excuse about it anymore, right? Yes, my hormones are crazy, and that's been the story I've been telling myself about why I'm not going to the gym, but I've got to go to the gym because my body is my temple, and it's my sacred responsibility to care for it. So wherever that fits in your life, that is something I think that many of us are going to see coming. But also the redefining of purpose. What is my purpose? What is my personal mission statement? What is and how do I lead within my own life mission statement? What is my purpose in the world? And I'm building whatever I'm building, from my country to my home to my garden. I'm building it from the soul space now, not just intellectually. And because it's Aries, the thing will be, it's not going to necessarily be about following someone else's plan. It's going to be, this is what's true for me. And because this is what is true for me, who I am, what I am, for a time, I may feel like I'm traveling by myself while I'm figuring out my own exceptional path. But as soon as I know it, and as soon as I'm willing to take that visionary courage fire to build it forward, I'm going to find the right grouping of people to be traveling with. And I do think also, because it's this Aries energy, the question is, what did I come here to do? What did I come here to do, and am I doing it? Right? So it all kind of comes together. Again, it's going to be probably messy, but your mess is going to turn into a message for somebody. And that is so true on the global stage as well. So that's both Saturn, that's Neptune, that's Aries, that's all of it coming together to create this beautiful story for us. Now, last time that we saw that we had a Saturn and Neptune conjunction, just to bring a little bit of history in, it actually came together not in fire energy, but we saw them come together in Capricorn, and it was 1989. So we saw some cool things happen globally. The Berlin Wall fell down. We saw the Soviet Union begin to collapse. We saw a major rise in globalization, right? Again, the commercialism of spirituality took its next flare out there in the world. But so what do we learn, and what do we see from all of that? We see that as these planetary conjunctions come together, they shift the fabric of reality, materially and energetically. Right? That's what we saw happen at that particular time. We saw things literally change. We tore down walls that we thought were permanent at that time. They challenge us to ask the question, who is real? Real, right? And they usher in some new rules of the game that are like, okay, if this is what's real, here's how I will participate, what I believe, what brings unity, what I'm willing to build, and what I'm willing to stand in. And there's a lot, I think, of spiritual invitation and evolution that comes from that as well. So when you think about this for yourself, this whole transit, this Neptunian set of energy that you have a lot of help with, taking us, all the way to the end of 2026 and beyond. When you think about it, what is the world that you've dreamed of being in? And how are you going to help create that? What is the dream that maybe even for you, it's like, I'm avoiding it because it seems too big, it seems unrealistic, even though my insides are kind of calling it to me and I'm not exactly sure how to get it out there, but I've been avoiding it. Are you supposed to be coming up and out and being an astrologer, a massage therapist, a Reiki person, a financial counselor? What is it you're supposed to do? But you're like, yeah, I know how to do those things and I feel called to them, but I don't know how to extend them out to the world. So I've been avoiding taking that that business class. I've been avoiding asking for help. I've been, whatever. What have you been avoiding? Or think about maybe where do you need to bring some structure to your spirituality, a routine, a practice, a set of daily convictions that come in for you that actually let spirituality live and breathe so that it's not an idea. Your spirituality, in terms of it just being an idea or having faith in something, is very, very flimsy. We have faith in all sorts of things and don't actually live our lives connected to the universe. So what is going to make it real for you, right? And I think that brings to the question where I was saying about sacred responsibility is like, where are these showing up and they are making you feel like you're being asked to take that real sacred responsibility for your life? Right? For being not just thinking about it and dreaming it anymore, but realizing that in your own personal life, in your own personal moment, you are a part of history and a pattern of history that has shifted the way the entire world lives and moves and has its being. We're done with the slow, tender, sobering cooking that has been happening in Pisces, and now we are ready to step into the courage of action and vision and movement in Aries. And where are these things lighting up for you? All right, my absolutely beautiful friends, this has been a lot. I feel like this is a very Neptunian video, so hopefully it brilliantly came across. I want this to be helpful to you. Again, make sure you click over to the blog if you want to see how this is happening exactly in your particular chart in terms of the housing. If you want to know what it means in your life specifically, very specifically, this is where you want to get into your own astrology and be your own astrologer, looking at those transits, those aspects. Or come on over, sit with me, sit with one of my colleagues, and let us walk you through what we spend all of our time doing, which is the skill of astrology. All right, friends, I love you a ton. Check out these 2 videos at the end. Either one of them is going to help you in the next space on your journey. I love you guys. Bye.